We are 2 days into patch 0.2 of Path of Exile 2 and I just reached the endgame, so I wanted to show you my Stormweaver character and how I built it so far. So this patch everyone has a rough time, but people are slowly figuring out which builds are good, and so far looks like there's a lot of Huntresses, Leeches and Warriors. But I decided to go with something definitely off meta, which is the Stormweaver. Archmage got nerfed a lot this patch, but fortunately for me, I am playing with cold abilities which didn't really get affected by the nerf, at least in the early game. So the way you play this character is you cast Frostbolts and then you detonate them with the Cold Snap. Then in Act 3 you also start using Frostwall and cast on Freeze Comet for even more explosions. If you are wondering how hard was the campaign for this build, well, there were some issues in Act 1, but that's mostly because we don't have access to Cold Snap at that point, and we have to play with Spark, which actually did get some nerfs. So in Act 1 we are not that strong, but as soon as you reached Act 2, you no longer should struggle. It is definitely not the strongest build out there, but I would definitely say it's one of the better ones. So maybe like a 7 or 8 out of 10. So now let me go over the entire leveling process step by step. So here is my Cold Snap Frostbolt Stormweaver leveling guide, and here is the planner. The differences between a guide and a planner is that in a guide you can actually check out all of the leveling steps, and the planner is what I am currently doing. So when I'm gonna do some updates to the build, they are gonna all be in this planner, but all of the leveling steps are still gonna be here. So if you're gonna be wondering, hey, what I did earlier, you're gonna be able to check it out here. But the full guide is gonna be probably updated a little bit, but it's not gonna have that many changes. But yes, I'm gonna try to keep this up to date, both the guide and the planner. So the way you want to play this character in Act 1 is you want to start with Spark, then take Flame Wall and Frost Bomb. And the way you're gonna play is you're gonna place down the Flame Wall and then you shoot sparks through the Flame Wall, so they're gonna be enhanced by the fire and Spark is gonna deal more damage. And then Frost Bomb you just use on cooldown just to do a little bit of extra damage and also freeze bosses. Orb of Storm is not really needed, but if you have some extra skill gems that you drop, you can also use it and place down on bosses. And your first aura should be Arctic Armor. Then at the end of Act 1, you can swap to Frostbolt, because usually around that time you get the Cold Snap. I believe you actually get guaranteed level 5 gem, which is needed for Cold Snap from the Executioner boss. And then you also need Scatter Shot for your Frostbolt, because you want to shoot 3 projectiles instead of 1. So you support your Frostbolt with Scatter Shot and Control Distraction. Oh, and I forgot about the Spark. Spark doesn't really matter too much. There's a lot of options what you can go for, but I recommend going for Unleash and Control Distraction. For Flame Wall, Spell Cascade or Fortress. Fortress is also fine. And for Frost Bomb, Concentrated Effect and Magnified Effect. What you can also do is you can also use you can use the Spell Cascade for the Frost Bomb for more AoE. So you would use it instead of Concentrated Effect, and it's gonna help you with clear. But for bosses, Concentrated Effect is gonna be more damage. So for Frostbolt, you want to use Scattershot and Control Distraction just to do more damage with Frostbolts, and on Cold Snap Unleash so that you always detonate all 3 Frostbolts. So you're gonna get additional 2 seals, so additional 2 explosions of Cold Snap. And then Concentrated Effect just for some additional damage. Frost Bomb, nothing really changes here. You can use Glaciation instead of the Concentrated Effect because we're gonna put that on Cold Snap, and Hypothermia just to curve bosses. But to be honest, I wasn't even using Hypothermia too often because it costs a lot of mana and I was struggling with my mana a lot. Then in Act 3, you were gonna add Frost Wall with Icicle and early on you can use Considered Casting, but then later swap to Spell Cascade. Once you get your first thrilling, I would go for Ingenuity because that's gonna give you additional cooldown, and I would prefer going for Frostwall. I think it's higher priority in terms of going for the Forling because it is going to deal most of your damage at that point. And actually, from that point on, Frostwall is just more damage than the Cold Snap and Frostbolt. It just has a cooldown, so that's why you want to use Ingenuity. But even with that, sometimes you're not gonna have enough Frostwall, so you're gonna have to use Frostbolt and the Cold Snap. And then on Frostbomb, you're gonna add Strip Away just for some additional exposure effect. And then you're gonna throw in Cast on Freeze with Cold Snap and Impetus, and later you're gonna swap it to Comet with Impetus. And that's basically it. From that point on, you just use the same things. Eventually, once you have more spirit, you can throw in Elemental Invocation with Comet and Energy Rotation. And you can also self-cast Comet with Hourglass and Inevitable Crit, but I actually didn't even do it. It's not really needed, it's just something extra. For the tree, just to go here, you want to start with the let me go to Ascendancy first. With the Scouring Winds, which got nerfed, it used to give us 20%, now it gives 12% exposure effect, but it's still extremely good, so you want to start with that. And then as a second Ascendancy, you want to use Constant Gale just for Arcane Surge. And then later on, even I don't have a third one yet, but you want to go for the Shaper of Storms, so you can shock with your cold abilities, and you're gonna remove Arcane Surge. And for the tree, the most important part is going here. And actually what I would recommend doing, I didn't include it here in this tree yet, but what I would recommend doing, which is something that I have in my planner, and which is utilizing the weapon swaps. So what you can do is on your second set, which is the green lines, you can take all of the exposure nodes, which are here, and also the curse nodes, which are here, and then later here. And on your set 1, which is your main damage, you just use all of the damaging abilities. So I'm using these ones here, some here, and here. And the way you set up your skills, just to show you in the game, you want to go to skills, and on the Frostbomb, you want to put it only on the second set, and Hypothermia also put it on the second set. What you can also do is you can use a mobility ability. I'm using Shield Charge. You can also go for Leap Slam. I went with Shield Charge, and you also put it on the second set. And in your second set, you use a shield with some kind of wand. And wand is actually pretty important to have mana drain, because you're gonna run out of mana decently often, especially on bosses. So it is nice to have a source of mana regen just in case. And make sure to upgrade your wand from time to time, every few levels, get a new wand, so it's actually higher skill level, so you can drain more mana. And also don't forget to put every other skill just on weapon set 1, so that every time you use any damaging abilities, you swap your passive tree to the first set. So that's what I would recommend doing early on. So you just start going from here all the way to the top. Early on, you take these points, which is what I have here. Then you go all the way to the top, and once you reach that point, you can start using your set 1 and set 2 skills. In Act 1, you should get 4 points. Then in Act 2, every single act basically gives additional 4 weapon set points, so you can start utilizing it. This is the most important tree. Once you get it, at that point, I would start using Frostbomb in the second set. So you basically take green points here and red points here, green points here and red points here. So yeah, that's basically it in terms of the tree. Then you just go to the right side, you take the crystal. Here, just some additional damage. Trigger, I would skip for now, just take it later. It's not really that important. Then you can have some damage here. And AoE is actually very important. Go for AoE early on. Royal is pretty good. And then here, the reverberation, because it helps with all of the explosions so that they overlap and they do more damage. This is also something that I am gonna edit in the tree in this guide later on once I actually know exactly what to go for, like step by step. I'm still not sure what is the most optimal way. Okay, so that was the leveling. Now as the last thing, I want to show you my character in game, so how I set it up for the end game. And to be honest, there is not that many differences. What I did is I went for more of a trigger setup. So going for the cast on freeze with elemental invocation and another cast on freeze. So I'm using 2 cast on freeze setups and 1 elemental invocation, one with the impetus and fluke, elemental invocation with concentrated effect, and cast on freeze, the second one with energy retention. This way you actually proc comets decently often. They don't deal like the craziest damage, and eventually I am actually going to probably drop 1, maybe even 2 of these, because you simply just don't have enough supports. Even with this, these supports are kind of whatever, they don't do too much. And imagine having like full 5 or even 6 links. There's just simply not enough supports in the game that are actually good enough to utilize them. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna remove some of them later on. And for my gear, I actually have pretty bad gear. I didn't really feel like upgrading anything. I'm waiting until I'm gonna be level 70, maybe even more, so I can actually equip higher level gear, and then I'm gonna start buying some stuff. The most important thing though is using a scepter, because scepter is what allows you to have enough spirit for so many trigger skills. But I'm probably gonna drop it, and I'm gonna get some spirit on amulet and chest soon. This I'm gonna get some additional damage from my offhand. And during the campaign, I highly recommend from time to time, if you get your first exalt, just buy a weapon with +2 cold spell skills. The secondary stat you want to go for is damage as extra cold. Then any damage as extra, so like lightning, fire, and of course things like cold damage, spell damage, cast speed are also pretty good. And in your offhand, you're gonna use the focus also with +2 level of cold spells. Or you can use a staff. Staff is also good. So basically, if you use a wand with, let's say, +2 to cold spells and offhand with +1 to cold spells, you basically have 3. So you might as well buy a staff with +3. It's basically gonna be the same thing, depending on, of course, what other stats you're gonna have on the weapon. So just buy the one that is cheaper. And then other things, just life, resists, attributes. You're gonna probably need a little bit of strength and dexterity, so try to get it somewhere. So as you can see, my ring is still even blue. My gear is just pretty trash right now. And for the tree, one thing that I actually forgot to mention is the jewels. And for jewels, I highly recommend getting percentage mana on kill. So I have 2% mana on kill here, 2% mana on kill here, and I'm also probably gonna get something in here pretty soon. So that was my character, and of course I'm gonna keep upgrading it. And whenever I have any significant changes to the build, I'm also gonna make another video posting the build updates. If I'm not gonna do any significant changes within the next like day or two, don't expect any video, but once I have some like actual changes to talk about, then yes, I am gonna make an update to the build. But for now, I would recommend just checking out planners and see if I am doing any changes. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.